of July leaning in the middle of the week. I can't say that I hope you had a happy 4th of July weekend, because I'm not sure which weekend that would have been. But I trust that this last week you had a little time to take a break away from the computer. And as I'm saying that, I know in my mind that some of you are thinking, no, actually I had to use that time for the computer. I want to take a moment here just to express my appreciation to you for keeping up with the coursework and for just taking the extra time it takes to do the commitment that a course online takes, especially a writing intensive course. I was watching a movie last night, kind of just a goofy movie, but it had a lot to say to me in terms of keeping your various roles in check and prioritized, and I was kind of feeling that this week. I hope you feel like I do, that you can finally come up for air a little bit. And if you're not feeling that yet, I want you to look through the course and the list of assignments. I have it up on my other screen right now. And I'm looking at all of these assignments that we already did and the short list of what's left. Now, granted, I know it's the biggest paper, but hopefully what we can share today will help allay some of your fears about writing a paper that is longer in length. First, I want to tell you that most of you have reported to me that you find it easier to write about things that you really feel like writing about or have feelings on. And the thing that you're going to like about this research paper is that you get to do that. Now, some of you have also said that's overwhelming because you have so many choices and not enough time to really get a topic developed. And I'd love to help you on an individual basis. If you want to send me a list of interests or whatever, I can try to brainstorm topics with you. But I'm going to give you some tips on topics. I'm going to talk to you about your research proposal and just talk about the paper in general today. So first of all, take a deep breath. We have only one paper left for this course, and that is pretty cool. So in terms of accomplishment and just getting through and improving our writing. Okay, first of all, what is this paper supposed to be? I mentioned this last time. The big thing is that you want to choose a topic that you can be persuasive on. Persuasion is different than argument. You may have touched on it before. Some of you may have gotten into topics that are more on the controversial side, and so your arguments may have been more in depth. But the difference between making an argument that parallels a story you read to life experiences, and making an argument that way, between a difference of taking a stance or a position that definitely has opposition to your opinion. That's the direction we're moving. Okay, if everyone agrees with you, it's not argument, and if everyone agrees with you in your persuasion, it's definitely not persuasion. The way this is going to be different is that persuasion is a purpose for moving people to change their mind or their actions. I don't want you to have a call to action at the end where let's all join together in the effort to ban shark finning. Okay, shark finning and stricter legislation on that practice, which I never knew about until I started teaching composition classes and reading all sorts of topics that students care deeply about. But it's a great topic, but we're not really trying to target our specific readership in a way that's like an advertisement, but we do inherently in what we say about our topic want to change people's minds. So, and obviously when people's minds are changed, that's when they do something. But you're not positioning as an advertisement for your topic. Okay, so it's persuasion. Some of you have been looking forward to writing about what you want to write about and researching to get more. You've said, I need more information. I feel like I'm missing pieces, but we can only use the text. Now you're free to roam. But before I tell you that, I do caution you about just using a Google search. While that might be a great place to start your research point at, I really encourage you to use Info Ohio for your research resources. And the school has given you a password for that, and it's something they subscribe to and pay a lot of money for. But if you do a a search within that database. That's going to be really key. I have resources on how to use that in the classroom, in the course content. Not course content, in the mainframe, I believe, under resources for writers or something like that. If you can't find it, let me know and I'll try to dig around and show you an exact spot, give you screenshots or something so you can find that information on how to use InfoOhio. It's not the only thing to use, but it could be, okay? There's one of the searches is called academic search, or like just a general search, and it's going to be very key in helping you for this research paper. Along with that, a thought escaped me about research. Maybe I'll come back to it. Yeah, having a lot of sources could really help you out in that whole length issue. The length thing is scary to people, but this research proposal, if you do it well, if you take the road less traveled on it and really flesh it out, it's going to save you a lot of time in the future. And that's our only assignment this week, is the research proposal. It has 3 parts. The first part is a thesis statement. Do consider revisiting the thesis worksheet to flesh out this paper and this thesis statement. Your thesis statement is a preliminary thesis statement. It could change, but I'm asking you to not change your topic after this week. Second is an outline. It can be a working outline. In fact, it can be a narrative outline where you just kind of walk through and enumerate in paragraph form on what you want to discuss. It could be a very detailed outline that you might even end up using for your final outline in your paper. The outline expectation for your final paper is part of the college's expectations. I'm honestly not a real big outliner. I use very much a working outline, something that is going to help me. So if I was doing this part, I might put in my main points and then give myself a little note as to which resource I think I'm going to find the information for as I go, so that when I go to write, I have my outline and my resource list so that I can go back and forth between them as I'm writing. Just something I do, but again, make it work for you. The outline is, at this phase, proposal phase, is more so I can see the direction you're going and try to help you if I see anything that are kind of red flags, like, I don't think that's going to work, or I think you're right on the right track, and I would encourage you to just barrel forward. Give me that type of information. And finally, the preliminary works cited. It's preliminary because obviously you haven't cited anything, and works cited is only sources you've cited. This is going to be kind of again, a working bibliography of sorts. Anything that you've laid hands on this week, or if you started last week, that you think could be a potential source, you're going to put in works cited form. I do not want a list of URLs. I want actual works cited form. You're going to thank me when you have the paper due in a couple weeks, and your works cited page, all you have to do is take out a few that you didn't use and add a few that you did, and they're all in the right form, and you just might have to alphabetize, and that's it, okay? I want it to look like a works cited page at this point, so you have all your citations as you go. I think I've mentioned before that most plagiarism, I've noticed, is just because people are in a rush and do sloppy research. They forget which source information has come from, and so that's how they get muddled in that process. So these 3 things go in the proposal. I just talked to a student who's taking an online class for another institution, and she said, I need you to help me. She's actually a friend of mine, and she said, could you sit down with me and just tell me how to write a research paper? And it kind of floored me, but I realized that I had some really good high school English teachers, and they taught me well, and in my college courses those things carried over. Let me tell you what I told her real briefly here, and maybe it will work for you. First of all, you know the prompt is very open and wide, so you've got a lot of room to wiggle on. And so as I'm looking at that from a student's perspective, my first step in this whole process is going to be to find a topic that I really kind of like to write about. It could be something that is related to what you're studying. Maybe you're a nursing student. I had a nursing student write me a really fabulous persuasion paper on persuading that we need firmer regulations, more FDA involvement in how herbal medications are made and distributed, because there have been complications with people's health, even death, caused by misuse of seemingly benign substances. Okay? Great topic. It tied in with her major. It was something they talked about in one of her classes. She wanted to know more about it. That's where she went. Some people say, you know what, I really need a break from academia, and Right now I'm interested in, you fill in the blank. For me, I do this by thinking, okay, where is a conversation I've had recently that I felt a little tension in and felt like I needed a little bit more information to support where I'm coming from on it. For me right now, that conversation tends to be about football. Both my father and my husband played football, and I love the sport, but we have kids heading into junior high and middle school right now who the only programs available to them at our schools are tackle football programs. All the junior Pee Wee leagues even are tackle in our area. And there's been a lot written lately on concussions and some thought that the NFL and college arenas are both going to put firmer regulations on certain maneuvers on the football field to hopefully alleviate the number of multiple concussion situations. And there's been former NFL players who are vouching for this because of brain injuries that they are living with. That's a little awkward when I talk to my friends who have their kids in tackle football, because we're deciding to not have our kids play tackle right now to protect their brains. And I've never been really a helicopter mom or overprotective, so I, even now talking about it, get a little tense, like, okay, I really need to do my research. My husband's done the research. I really need to own this research so that I can be confident in our decision. Hopefully that thought process triggered maybe something for you that you care about. Maybe it's not with kids, you may not have kids, but something that is important to you. Don't worry about what I think about your topic, by the way. I'm pretty careful. I have some opinions, but I'm not going to grade you on your opinion. I'm grading you on how you present your opinion, okay? So you can tell me something that I totally disagree with, and I'm just gonna read it and absorb what you're saying and see how it's constructed as a composition, okay? A third way you might find information for your topic is just what catches your attention as you're walking through the grocery store aisle and scanning headlines. Or I always have my computer set to MSN, so I see all the little news headlines flashing by. And the things that you're going to click on could be potential topics. Just make sure you're staying persuasive. Avoid tired and worn out topics like, not that they're not relevant, but like capital punishment and abortion and I could go on. I'm a little tired of the legalization of marijuana argument. I get a lot of papers on it. Unless you're going to have a really poignant argument that takes a new angle and you're pretty confident with that, I would avoid those and look for something that's a little bit off the beaten trail. Okay, so you have your topic. The next step in your process is going to be to do some initial research. You might find that your topic changes as you do this. As you go into Info Ohio and do a search for tackle football, all of a sudden I might see some things pop up that I hadn't thought about, or maybe even a totally different twist in my topic, and my topic might take a new direction. Whatever that new direction is, I'm probably not going to write my thesis statement until after I have a bit of a collection of writings. A lot of those have abstracts, which means like a little overview of the article, and I might just do a little skim of that. I'm not doing any in-depth research. I'm collecting and gathering right now. Then from there, what I like to do is put things either in I'm a big ring binder person. In fact, that's what I work out of for this course, even though it's all online. I would probably personally want to print all my articles, and I like color coordinating with highlighters. Here's what I mean. Once I have my topic and I have all these informations, I'm going to write in a rough outline where I think this is probably going to go. And I may not do it in that neat and tidy order. It could be kind of like, okay, I think I could write an outline now. Ooh, no, I'm stuck. Got to go back to research. It could go back and forth like that. But what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to have an idea of what probably my main points are. They're going to kind of emerge and just jump out. Let's say I'm arguing, back to the whole football argument, that firmer regulations need to be made for Pee Wee League, junior high, and high school programs in terms of tackle. There needs to maybe be a certain age that we don't tackle, and then the sport needs to change in its approach or whatever. Okay, I honestly don't. I'd have to research a little bit about football, because as many games as I've sat through in my life, I'm not very well versed. So I'm going to have this information. I'm going to take 3 different colors of highlighters. This is just me. It's not how you have to do this. I'm going to have a ring binder, and I'm going to start highlighting. And every time I have something that talks about current regulations, I'm going to make it in pink. And every time I have an argument that goes against my argument and defends the other side, I might put it in another color. So that when I get done, all of my sources are color coded so that when I go to write my paper and I'm on the point where I'm addressing the opposition, I look for all the green. Or if I'm on the point that I look for current legislation that's already in process, I'm going to look for pink. Okay, so it's just a way to collate your information. I'm not a big note card fan. If that's worked for you in the past, absolutely use it. The other thing is some articles, if they fit neatly and tidily into just one point that you're making, you could have divisions in a ring binder where, okay, this article looks like it's going to be mostly about point A, this article mostly about point B. The only problem with that is that sometimes you see parts in those articles that go into more than one category. So to avoid too many copies of too many articles, you might want to consider the multicolored highlighting. Do revisit your thesis often to make sure you're on track. Do make sure that you have plenty of sources so that when you go to write, you don't fall short in content. And make sure your thesis is deep and thick enough to really develop into a topic. For my football example, I will probably have to give a little history on the sport might play well into my argument, just guessing. NFL players who are filing suits against the NFL, that's going to be a part of my paper. Current legislation, I mentioned that. What I think should be done in the future, okay? I've presented the problem, what's the solution? Those types of things could, all of a sudden I have 4 or 5 points, and each of those points could be 1 or 2 paragraphs at least, and you see how your paper, you can kind of estimate, okay, I'm going to have enough to write on, I'm ready to write. One other thing, as you're choosing sources, the reason I encourage you to use those databases is that they are going to be pretty free of propaganda, and they'll be pretty good in terms of their depth, and they'll be academically well geared for your writing. Sometimes I've had students who go on a Google search and they come up with, my classic example is I had a student who was arguing that the whole push to drink milk is just perpetuated by the dairy industry, and it's really not that healthy to drink milk. Okay? Her primary source was milksucks.com. Oops. That's all propaganda. Now, do I think she could have had a pretty interesting point? Obviously, the paper has stuck with me for that long. It intrigued me that it could, the whole idea to have your kids drink milk and milk, all the milk advertisements, trying to get women to drink more milk and so forth. That interests me. I like nutrition and health issues. But the idea that she fueled her whole argument with propaganda websites really took away, it kind of deflated her whole argument, because it would be sort of like using, and you could argue with this, I guess, but using all PETA advertisements as reasons why we shouldn't, everyone should be vegetarian, okay? So you need to find a balance. Doctors and nutritionists talking about the benefits of vegetarianism is one thing. PETA talking about it, they're very much an issue in lobbyist groups. So a lot of their material they put out there is propaganda based. Just something to think about as you're looking for your sources. Okay, I've been really long today. Thank you for your patience. If you have any questions at all, let me know. Only assignment due this week is your proposal. Take care.